an awesome state-of-the-art gay club, you know, clean and sharp, and this where we were was just sort of a hole in the wall and had carpet. But we ran a show there on Sundays, and the Putter Boss came from sketch and improv, and I was very type A, like I write my stuff out, and they would always use the phrase like, Beth, let's host it, us three on stage together, and just put away your briefcase. Meaning like, put away your little planned jokes. Just get up here and be funny with us and talk about your day.
Yeah.
So that translates still to this day, even in the LA scene. You can go and do UCB Franklin and say your jokes that you've perfectly crafted, and they're like,
yeah.
Or you can talk about that thing that's coming from the ceiling and what happened to you that day. That's what they want to see from you.
Yeah.
And that feels more alty as opposed to a club, which is prepared and jokes and set up punch and I'm here to perform for you.
Yeah.
And so that's like such an interesting thing to play in because they challenged me to be more present and off the cuff, and that was very beneficial to me, and I'm grateful to them. And yet I still needed to be able to survive in a comedy club.
Yeah.
Which is, let me come out guns blazing because you don't know who I am and I have to get you on the first joke.
Yeah. Yeah. And I've had so many alt rooms where I just went up with a polished thing or something, not even polished, but something that I wrote it in a way that I want to try it, but it still sounds so written, and it still sounds like, okay, you thought about this? What are you, a piece of shit? Don't, like, you know what I mean?
Right.
Don't do
Preparing's
something that you...
for losers.
Yeah. Yeah.
It's like, wait a minute.
yeah.
I don't like this. I mean, that can be a trouble, you know, speaking of not dating comics, but, you know, having dated someone who was also very joke writing heavy, meticulous, and a workhorse when it came to that. I am still different from that. I am still the comic that, like, I can get up whenever I get up, and I don't need 2 sets a night, and I didn't need to do a bunch of open mics. I just enjoyed what kind of came my way and rolled with it.
Yeah.
But he, and being close to him, experienced a lot of that similar thing, which is like, I'm gonna get up and perform this like really well curated written set, and you're not gonna have it.
Yeah.
And he lived in New York and gave LA comics a really hard time, and thought, you know, had an opinion of LA comics, which isn't that far off in the sense that even when I first started here in 2011, it was sort of endemic, this laziness, this sort of, what do you guys want to talk about? Or I don't know what's next.
Yeah.
And,
I want to kill myself.
you know, that stuff. And it's like, and I would be sitting there having just moved here and be like, you're doing this with your spot time?
Yeah.
Like, fuck all the way off. Like, so many people want to be up there. Prepare something.
Yeah.
Like, perform.
Yeah.
I mean, and so I am, like I said, I've always kind of struggled because I am more laid back. I don't need to get up there and work these jokes 4 times tonight. But we are putting on a show, and I want to be prepared.
Yeah.
And, you know, so I don't know, sometimes I fall back into that sort of, I hate to put it on LA, but it is sort of an LA thing, which is, what do you guys want to talk about?
Yeah.
I don't know. That's your job, man.
Yeah.
So being in New York, having either written there on Crashing or, you know, dating someone there, it did give me that taste of what it's like to do 3-4 sets a night and be more disciplined and use your spot time wisely because they're here to see a show.
Yeah.
It's not just like ambush show in the back.
Yeah.
So in Chicago, I think it was still that split happening.
Yeah.
And Zany's was the club that you had to try to get into that was very strict. And Bert Haas, the manager, had all these specific rules. And if you were so late for your audition, you wouldn't go on, even if you drove 2 hours to be there. And, you know, very specific parameters. So I had to survive there. And that did include me bombing quite a bit, you know, over the years there. But Lakeshore Theater, which is now Laugh Factory, I've not done Laugh Factory, but that was another huge spot. That was a big deal for me because it was such a huge theater. So that was my first exposure to a large crowd.
Yeah.
And
how are you in front of a large crowd? Because I'm sure so you've done theaters.
Yeah.
And what is your, because you're so.
I really love and thrive in small spaces.
Me too. I really love it. I don't like the pressure that you almost feel for the excitement that the crowd get, and then you come in and you're kind of.
I know. I have this. I don't know. It's hard for me to not place judgment on it as a concept and as a whole, because it's sort of like, yes, I've grown my audience over the years. You know, we have other counterparts that do arena tours and stuff, and it's like, okay, that is a huge feather in your cap. It is a big deal to do an arena tour. And yet I would argue that's not the best show for your fans.
Sure,
They end up
sure.
watching you like this.
Yeah.
So I don't know.
Yeah,
I'm not obviously I'm not being like, don't do an arena tour.
Yeah.
Look out for your fans.
Yeah.
But it's just sort of, it is interesting. And it's not like I'm in a place to do an arena tour.
Right.
So it's not like I'm grappling with that.
Yeah. Oh God. Do I do punchline?
The hundreds of thousands of dollars, or nah, I'm gonna stick with the sack punch for my fans. I do it for my fans. But I do prefer small space. I mean, that's what my HBO special is called, Girl Daddy, or it's on HBO Max. And I could have stretched myself to try to do it in a bigger theater to make a splash, but that would have stretched me and my fan base even, because like I don't do huge theaters on the road. I can do small theaters and comedy clubs. And so, but ultimately that didn't even play a part in my decision. I wanted a small crowd. I was hoping, and I wanted them to be on my level, and I wanted it to be sort of surrounding me, especially with the subject matter I was talking about and how I had worked it. I had already found myself on the road leading up to that special. I would, if the stage was high, I would step down and just talk to them like here.
Yeah.
And sometimes I'll sit on the stage, or like I like just like looking at people and getting near them. And so when I am opening for like Sarah Silverman or something in a huge place, like that is so fun. And I mean, there's no greater gift than opening for someone like Sarah or Mike Birbiglia. Like they're sharing their people with you, and that's a gift in itself. Yeah. And they're so happy to see them that you can just do your 20, and like that's a sweet spot. It's so fun to do those gigs.
No pressure. Oh, it's the
and
best.
So I can have fun with that because the pressure's not on me. But I still remember being nervous in some spaces for sure. Yeah. Opening for bigger names or in big places. So yeah, I don't know. I thrive in small spaces, but I sometimes have to question it myself. I go, what are you afraid of, like, I don't know, being too big or too exposed or something? Sure. I don't mean like me all of a sudden blowing up. I mean like just being out there raw in front of all these people and having to get their attention. I opened for Mulaney in his arena tour a couple times, and I mean, I had nerves for sure, because you go, will I translate? Yeah. And people, slow down, and it's like, but do you? How much do you adjust for that? And it's a learning process, and they have the screens to watch you, and but I don't know. It's interesting, the size of crowd.
Yeah. All it takes is one person who tells you or tweets you or whatever that says like they felt underwhelmed when they saw you in a big space, and you're just working on something that's so, it's not even tiny, it's subtle, or it's meticulous, and it just doesn't serve that. Like sometimes, it's good to have like the range in some things, but I think you're so consistent in every space that you're in, so it would feel hard to try to fight that pressure.
I worry about not being able to reach them and like connect them and be authentic. Yeah. Because I don't like watching very put on fakey stuff. Yeah. Obviously I have appreciation for all different types of comics, but when I'm watching something that I feel is disingenuous or like too practiced, or I don't know, I just want to see you be real and be you. And I know there is the argument though that no matter what seat they're in all over the arena, reach to that furthest person and connect with them. But it's just like, it just feels like a lot.
I can't look at a person.
You can't.
I have to look in between two people. I cannot look. Clearly, I have demons. I cannot look at a person.
That's struggle. So funny. I've had people, respond to me after shows like, "Jesus, the eye contact."
Yeah, you look like. I make sure I'm nowhere near your eyes. I'm not even in the audience. I'm so far in the back. I have to be in the green room and listen to you. I can't. Beth's on stage. She knows what I did last night. I don't know.
I will say sometimes the people who have ended up being someone on the, predator leaning people, they do sort of, like, when magnets are boom, boom, boom. I feel like they've been like that towards me around the comedy scene. They I can see right through them.
Bro, I just can't do it because I feel so I think I honestly think it happened because when you are when you meet someone who stutters and they're looking at you the whole time, my eyes go everywhere. I cannot watch someone discover or wait for me, like I can't watch
I
them.
can understand
their
that.
face just drops. It makes
very much. I can imagine that why
Yeah.
that makes perfect sense to me, and I don't really think there's anything wrong with it.
Yeah, and I think I just respond better to pockets of energy rather than just an individual.
Yeah, I mean, like you can feel that response.
Yeah.
I don't think there's anything wrong with it. Like there's also times where like, you look out and it's just sort of bright and fuzzy and
yeah.
And I'll find their eyes.
For a really long time, I only like if I was in a theater or whatever, I would kill the lights in the house completely. I would just like theater, where I was like, it's only me up here. I only have to deal with this and whatever. Now it's gotten to be where it's like I'm okay with there being like pockets of light or there being a wash in the first few rows or whatever.
Yeah.
But that just took a lot of time for me knowing that people weren't always coming from a malicious place. If I was,
well, that's an interesting point to be made, even just as a comic advancing in their career and building an audience, the word malicious, because sometimes I have to remind myself these people are here to see me and they want me to do well and they really can't wait to hear what I have to say. And sometimes, and unfortunately, I'm battling the opposite, which is like, I'm about to go to war. I have to prove myself. I need to come out here. And if I don't do good, they're never coming back. And I have to be so funny. And I put so much pressure on myself. And it's like, that's good. And I'm very hard on myself in terms of like putting out good work. And I'm maybe a little too precious about it even. But yeah, I have to remind myself that they're there to see me and it's not a war. Because like early headlining days, like they didn't know who I was. And and I remember like one hilarity is like Eliza Schlesinger canceled and they called me to come in and I was like, that's going to be rough for these folks. They're not gonna like what I am serving, and they didn't, and they don't know who I am. And I show up, I think it was like July 4th weekend or something in Cleveland, and I mean I ate shit.
Wait, Hilarities?
Yeah. So and it's a great club.
I love that club.
Yeah, it's a great club. So it's no shit on them, but it's sort of like, no, of course. Those were early days for me of headlining. No one, they don't really know who you are, and if they don't like who, they just signed up for 45 minutes with you, and they're like, oh God. Yeah. And there's no, how are you going to get good at headlining without doing it? Just like there's no practicing late night television. Your practice is that first time, that second time, that third time. Yeah. So some people come out and are naturally great at it, and that's wonderful. And other times you need that feeling of what that feels like to get better at it. Yeah. You can't just come out perfect. And headlining is like, you got to give people a chance. I have so many clubs say to me, oh, we wish I had more women headliners. It's like, well, then run those women, give them the chance to be as mediocre as the guys that you rely on to come in and just be regularly mediocre. Yeah.
Now, when I want to ask you about your experience with being a female comic and what times you felt where certain odds were against you because of that, or certain things were. There was just resistance that wouldn't have been there had you not been a female comic.
Yeah, I think those are early days in Chicago. A lot of the guys were really kind to me. There was definitely some drama surrounding, there's no HR. And of course, when you're around funny people, there is attractions and you may flirt and there's nothing wrong with that. Yeah. But some of those things I do recall like going south, and that made the workspace uncomfortable. And, so there were definitely moments like that created chaos for me on the scene. I didn't date anybody. It was just sort of like we got too close and wires got crossed, and it just made it a volatile, uncomfortable place for me in some rooms in particular. And I would say, obviously, back then, you were just trying to hang with the guys. I mean, I felt this I don't know, almost challenge to get into the boys club, and if you could hang with them, then that's cool.
I'm still trying to get in the boys club. I'm serious. I feel so. If there's a green room, if there's a green room that's loud, where there's dudes who have like a deeper register than me talking to each other, I get like very.
That's okay.
I get very like this.
Well, yeah, you want to be able to hold your own, and yet like I had all kinds of inappropriate or uncomfortable experiences coming up. I'm sure the women before me experienced way worse, but it's like I remember standing in also were comedy sort of, again, no HR, so we sort of There are no rules. There are no interviewers.
Yeah.
A lot of us do struggle with mental illness or addictions, and most rampant would be alcoholism. And I remember being in the back of Fizz, which was a bar in
you
Chicago.
know so many places, Beth. I just want you're like a little autistic kid. I was like, and you know the cross streets. I'm like, Beth,
I know.
tell me about trains.
I was
Beth.
literally about to.
I was like, do you think our listeners have that? Like, oh, I just don't know where that's at. If I'm coming from the South Side, what is she talking about? Oh,
Lincoln. It's on Lincoln, where Lincoln meets Broadway. No. Okay, Fizz. I was standing there, and a comic came up and just slapped my butt so hard it took it took the wind out of me. And it made me instantly
it hit
angry.
your stomach from the backside. Damn.
My butt right up into
my
stomach.
Don't. My wife's gonna listen to this
so
podcast.
hard.
She's like, I want you to do that. To me. Like my wife is the abuser. Like she's like, yeah. I'm like, Mel, you gotta stop. And she's like, no, do more.
But I just remember like what I normally would have tried to roll with that, laugh it off.
That's not cool, bro.
Whatever. But it made me instantly incensed. And I did yell at him, but that took a lot for me because I was like, you just try to be cool, try to hang, all these things. Other little weird stuff like people like tugging on my pigtails, but I used to wear 2 braids anyway, which is
that's your fault.
I deserved it.
Yeah.
But yeah, those weird moments like that. But I remember my first sort of press things in Chicago, just getting little interviews for the Chicago Tribune or whatever it was, trying to promote shows, and I made the choice to say I love being a woman in comedy. It helps you stand out immediately.
Yeah.
It's awesome.
Yeah.
And that was probably don't protest too much.
Yeah.
Jeez,
Beth,
so sort of like I was trying to say like, no, it's great. Come do it. Like, it's not bad at all. When of course there were struggles. And it was weird if you were one of 2 women on a lineup, you'd be like, wait, what are you doing here? Who's on the other one?
Yeah.
Like,
yeah.
If you're here, who's on the other show? There's no women on the other show?
What about Fizz?
Get over to Fizz right now. Represent us as a gender. And that would be the downside.
Yeah.
I've talked about this a couple times in the past, just when this subject has come up, which is like, you go see a showcase in Chicago back in the day. There's 6 people on it. One's a woman. The other are men at the time. And you go, the first guy's fine. Second and third guy, destroy, they kill. These guys bomb their dicks off. And she does okay. You don't leave there with those odds going, see, men just, like, the odds aren't great. Like, only 2 out of 5?
Yeah.
You go, women, they're just not good.
Yeah.
It's like, well, there was only one.
Yeah.
There's so many factors, like, so those odds were never, like, setting you up for success, but I was trying to, like, stand in it. And at the time, my version of feminism was, okay, I'm not going to play into the stereotypes that women only talk about sex and relationships or whatever. So I was doing my best to try to just be funny and not talk about those things. And then eventually I threw all that out the window because it was like, that's just another, that will never go away. They still type it in comments.
Yeah.
And of course, as you know, men are talking about sex all the time.
Of course.
But I just don't think about that anymore because I can make anything funny.
Yeah.
I'll talk about whatever I want.
Yeah.
And that is obviously just a way to silence us.
Yeah.
I mean, think about it. Coming up in comedy clubs for the last, many decades, it was male dominated. People are sitting in the audience watching a man on stage bitch about his wife and all these things. And the woman sits there and now that there's more non-males on stage talking about the other perspective, they talk about us not being able to take a joke. It's like their way of going, see, they only talk about sex. It's like, oh, do you not want to learn more about how you could be better or what's funny about it?
Yeah.
Like now that you don't see, you don't see yourself in that mirror, it's not funny for you.
Yeah.
Like you take the joke then. We took it for years sitting in crowds. And now there's different people on stage sharing their perspective or a totally different outlook. Yeah. And you can't take the joke?
Yeah.
Like, so it's just a way of silencing us. Like, they only talk about that. It's like, well, open your ears.
Yeah.
See if you can't do better.
I mean, and I sincerely mean this. You start from a funny place always. Like, it's always like this place of like, you can talk about your family. You can talk about your day. You can talk about, like leaving Ohio. Like, there's things that there are relationship-based things that you talk about that aren't even a relationship like boyfriend, girlfriend, or wife. You know what I mean? Just relationship that you have to your mom or to And so I like that you have this lens that you've applied to being like, I started off just wanting to be so wanted to resist the temptation, or maybe resist the urge to write about those quintessential things, or things for the purposes of those criticisms, to not, and challenge yourself to do that, and then come out the backside realizing that, oh no, I can still talk about those things, just with the experience that I've had, and knowing that I can apply that funny lens to no matter what it is.
Yeah, and that's the thing you have to kind of tell yourself if you ever struggle, saying like, oh gosh, you have to say, I'm an idea factory, and whatever these are my glasses to the world, and however I see it, I can talk about anything and make it funny,
When you wrote for Crashing, how did you feel about like the room, the scripts? Like,
that was
it's
interesting.
a different process.
Yeah, that was really, so my first writing job, and I got it through stand-up, because I get asked all the time, how do I get into TV writing, all this? It's like, well, I didn't know what I was doing. I got hired because of being a stand-up, and I could apply that to the show, which was what the show was about.
Yeah.
And Judd had just gotten back on the scene and was friends with Pete, and I had just done the Pete Holmes show. It was like a perfect little storm of being like, what comics can we have to get their perspective for this show?
Yeah.
Well, Beth, So it was my first foray into writing, and my early thoughts were, oh no, what do I say for me, and what do I give to them? It was very like, do I want to give my stuff away?
Yeah.
I know, I was just thinking about that. There was one joke that I think I did potentially take back, but I think Pete said it, and I was like, I'm gonna keep telling it on stage. But that was interesting. Like, I didn't really know what I was doing. I had to learn on the fly. I mean, I had to get final draft for the first time, and just learn from the scripts, because Pete had written the pilot, I guess. I think it was with Judd. So watching that, and then also just like, I don't know, like, I learned a lot in that process, because stand-up is such a lone sport.
Yeah.
I mean, typically, some people I think collaborate and riff, but a lot of us don't want to hear your tag.
Yeah.
A lot of us are like,
funny enough,
I actually don't need your help, so thank you so much.
Yeah.
We don't want to receive notes. No notes, just me. Thank you so much.
I worked with an opener. I worked with a person who just asked to do a guest set. They just asked. They were in the area. And I was like, oh, sure, yeah, or whatever. Mm-hmm. And I get off stage after this. I'm doing this was when I was doing like a 8-minute, like I did like 8 minutes on the Dahmer series or whatever. And I come backstage, and they said, hey, so I got some tags for you. And I just got off stage. You just got done with your hour. You have to go to the meet and greet to go do that hour. So and like I'm getting all my stuff, and they go, so I got some and I'm always very nice, but I had a tough time like hiding my face. I still said okay, and then he said, it was just something like one line or two line, and it was a pun, or it was a thing, and I was just like, and I could feel myself getting upset that I reacted in the way that was dishonest. My honest reaction was like, hey, why don't you just like, you do your thing, and like I appreciate it or whatever. Right. But I was like, I'd love to
hear him later.
Yeah. And so now now it's Thursday, and this is through Sunday, and so now I have to do this tag.
Did you do it?
Yeah.
Oh my God. True.
Because
you just go, oh, okay, thanks, and then forget it immediately.
No,
and
because he's on the shows. He's on the shows all the.
Was he listening though?
Obviously, he knows me.
Did
well
it work?
To know it. No, I mean, no, Beth.
Okay, well then try it. It doesn't work, and you and then you look side stage and you go.
But I can't look. I can't make eye contact with someone
next
to. But I tried different ways where I was like, I was.
Oh no! I can't believe you committed so hard.
I'm too nice, Beth.
Oh my God!
I can't not do the tag.
I'm the opposite.
If you give me a tag, I'll do it forever.
I'm the opposite. If you give me a note and I'm like, and I'll be like, yeah, I don't know. I'll immediately think it's wrong.
Yeah. And
then I have to later consider that potentially, like, yes, I'm immediately defensive. I'm not saying you see it on my face necessarily, but I'm like, nope.
Yeah.
And then as of recently, I did say, maybe I'll try that. And I did it, and I got a laugh, and I was like, damn it, they were right. Damn it. And thank you. But yeah, even the feedback.
That hits.
It's tough to be open to. But that's that's kind of like the collaboration part that comes with writing and stuff. You have to be like, know when to push and know when to say like, okay, this is your thing.
Yeah, not be precious about it or fight for it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But I'm just, I don't know. Yeah, it's hard for me to take a critique on something where I it's so clear in my mind. But I think the key is to go, I had a couple, like, especially, you have to have like a rapport.
Yeah.
Like, I thought of something. If you want to hear it, let me know.
Yeah.
I thouve of something for that blank bit. If you want to hear it, let me know.
Yeah. And I think the rapport thing, the established relationship thing is so important.
Yes.
Because I hear there are comics who get writing jobs, or they get jobs writing for bigger comics literally just based off of, I had this suggestion for you, and here you go, and this is just my thoughts. And then some headliners, they will love it so much that they'll be like, you're coming with me.
Yeah.
We're going to Detroit. You're coming with me. Like, I've had it. I mean, I did an open mic one time I did an open mic, and Dion Cole was there, and he was in the back, and it was a it was I don't even remember what it was. It was just he like, someone was like, hey, I was leaving, someone was like, hey, Dion wants to talk to you, and I was like, oh, okay. So they brought me back and Dion's like on the green room, like this, you know what I mean?
King Dion.
You know, yeah, he's like this, and he goes, hey man, you're funny. And I was like, oh, thank you. I'm so young, I'm so nervous, I'm just, oh, thank you, you know. Yeah, man, that was funny. And I was like, oh, okay, cool. And he goes, I'm going to take you on the road. I was like, okay. He's like, you open? And I was like, yeah, I can open. And he goes, all right, I'm going to hit you up. And I was like, okay. And then he never talked to me again.
That's when you're like, should I write my number down? Or
yeah.
I'll just hear the call.
Yeah. No, the vibe was just so like,
guy.
if Dion wants you, he'll find you. And I'm like, yeah, this was the early stages of Instagram. People, I don't even think DMs happened then. And he's like, all right, I'm gonna hit you up. I'm like, okay, where do you get my? All right,
okay,
I'm not gonna.
I guess. I've had somebody like on the a very famous person email and go, I would have hit you up on Twitter, but you don't follow me. I was like,
oh no.
I know, that was back when that kind of mattered. Now I'm just waiting for it to implode.
Here's the thing. There are people that I like I said, this is so hard for me, and I want to know your thoughts on this. I do. Because I need help.
Okay.
I follow people who I like. I follow people who I like, and I follow some people who I follow them because I follow them.
Mm-hmm.
And
a friendly follow.
It's a following in a friendly way.
We're similar. We have similarities. I think I know where you're going. Anyway.
I try to be so honest all the time, and if I think there's work ethic or I enjoy your work or whatever, then you got me, man. You got so. But at the same time, I could see how someone could see that I don't follow them, and then it's a similar situation where they're like, oh well, fuck you, fuck you, you know.
I know. Well, there's so many people in the world.
Yeah, and I should just do a shootout of just like where if I see you like I just follow every person on the lineup, like, is that what I should be doing? Where it's like, no, I have 9,000 followers, I follow 9,000 people, you know what I mean? And it's like, but I want to keep up with the people.
You'll never see them anywhere in the feed.
Never. It's already so hard enough. I follow 300 and something people, and that's a lot. So
300's low.
Is it? You think?
Mm-hmm.
I
think I follow 2,000.
Do you really?
Because I have a bigger problem than you. But lately I've been better about it, because it's like I'll meet somebody on a show who's very lovely, and now I'm the senior, right? Like, so whereas before, and that's hard for me to comprehend. Because I just have that kid mentality of like, yeah, I am. We're all scrappy. We're all doing it. And now I have young people coming up to me and be like, I like you, and I'm so happy to be on the show with you, and that's an honor to me. Yeah. But it's hard for me to compute because I'm the little sister, and I just, as you know, like, I'm sure as the years go on for you, you're like, wait, am I not still 25? I mean, I don't know, you know? So I want to follow those people back because they are so sweet, and they were sweet to me on the show, and I enjoyed them, but I don't know them. Yeah. I don't need to follow them. They sometimes message me, and then we can still message.
Yeah. And I feel the same. Like if I have a comic who's junior to me, and I'm talking with them, and we have a great, thing, and they're nice or whatever, and they follow me and they'll message me, I'll absolutely follow them or whatever. But I just mean, here's the thing, like, I don't ever unfollow someone. You'll never see that number go the other way. So you know what I'm saying? What you have?
Yeah.
You've unfollowed, you're saying?
Yes, I've unfollowed.
So if I follow you, you're my, you got my loyalty. You have it. I bought the membership. There's nothing you can do. You're Southwest to me. You toss my bag around, kick me in the dick with ice water. It does not matter. I am loyal to you. and I think I attribute that to
my bag around.
Lose it. Fly me to Fort Lauderdale. I don't care. Ground the plane. I did my research, or I met you, and I decided. I was like, you know. So I don't know. I don't know. There's some who just they follow people.
It sounds like I need more help now than you do. I think you can unfollow. 300's low. If there's anybody not bringing you happiness, or when they pop up, you're like, mute them or unfollow them.
Right.
Because, you're well aware, if I'm following you and it says following, and you unfollow me, it still says following.
Yeah. Yeah. Oh, it's such a silly thing, honestly.
I would
That's
say
what I hate.
The weirder thing
most
is when
about
people get very famous, like that we've known or come up with, and then either they say, I don't follow anybody, and they go down to 0.
Oh, that's crazy.
Interesting.
Yeah.
Or they unfollow you. Because, you have lost touch or whatever. Now they're like, there is a weird thing that people go into the star stratosphere, and then you're out of touch. And the further the time goes on, the harder it seems to get in touch without seeming like you want something from them. Maybe you don't, but you just came up together and you'd like to say hi or check on them.
Yeah.
So, but I did notice someone like that did unfollow me, and I was like, well, I'm following you back.
Yeah.
So I just unfollowed him back because I was like, I guess we're not friends anymore. You're a star now, and that's okay.
I guess I used to wish Bo Burnham a happy birthday on his birthday every year, because I used to open for him.
Oh, that's cool. I didn't know that.
Yeah, I used to open for him, and I used to wish him a happy birthday every year, and then we just we just never.
They started to seem more and more stocky and uncontrollable.
Yeah.
This guy's unhinged.
Yeah,
every
exactly.
year he wishes me a happy birthday. It's like we used to have something.
Yeah. It's exactly like the first year. It was like, oh, thanks, and we're on tour together, so it's like, whatever.
Course.
You're right next to me. Happy birthday, and then the next year it was like, oh, that's from last year. That's funny. And then 2 more years goes by, and it's like, all right, well, loved your movie. Happy birthday.
I don't know. I can't think of a famous person he's worked with.
Really?
Tell somebody hi. I don't know. Sorry, I disappeared on that.
So that's okay. You're don't worry about it. We're not gonna edit that out, but don't worry about it. So what
I tell you when I fail to come up with a good bit. Well, I could have gone somewhere with that, but
you have tuned yourself out several times.
But
several times.
I'm having a great time.
Yeah, it was like I'm not bored by the things you say. It's bold of you, Beth, to you're tuning yourself out, but you're still talking. I
stop myself a lot.
Do you?
I feel like there's so many things within my reach that could help me or make my life better. I'm just like, I'm thirsty. It's too far. But I'll stop myself sometimes. I think because I've done so much punch up, where I need to come up with the funniest thing or something funnier than that. Mm-hmm. So then sometimes that will prevent me from saying something that I think is first thought, unoriginal, or too hacky.
Yeah.
And if I just said it, it would get a laugh.
Yeah.
But I'm too not good enough, not good enough, not good enough.
Yeah.
And so that's kind of what was happening. I was like, this is not funny enough.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? But it's so strange. I ended up watching it because I did Jeremiah's stand up on the spot in Toronto.
How recently was that? How recently was that?
October.
Oh yeah. Oh, okay. I'm sorry. Okay, so in the fall you did it.
Yeah, and I just caught myself doing this. The audience yelled something out. They said super sports cars, and my mind went tiny micro penis. But I just kept it inside because I was like, duh. But if I said tiny micro penis, the crowd, it's just, I'm not saying that's brilliant. It's just sometimes the crowd needs you to say exactly what that little thing is right away.
Yeah.
I stopped myself from saying, because I was like, what does that even mean? That's not good enough. It's like, say
and the moment's over.
Yeah, or if I'm doing punch up in a group as opposed to just me working on the script alone, similar. I'll think of something and I'm like, no, not good enough. And somebody else will say it. It'll get a big pop and I'm like... And that makes me sound so elitist, I thought of it first, but I did think of it. I just didn't think it was good enough.
Yeah.
And it was.
Yeah. So I did Jeremiah's stand up on the spot, whatever, 2.5 weeks ago, 3 weeks ago or so. And it was like exhilarating. But my only thing was I didn't want to go on stage and become something that I wasn't just because the format was different. When I go on stage, I think my pace is deliberate, and I think my frustration is imminent. And you're
an oak tree out there, I say. You are. You plant yourself.
So it came off. I think it came off frustrated, and I think it came off as like not frustrated like at them or frustrated at the format, just frustrated about the things that they were suggesting. And I got off stage and I was like, yeah, you there's things that you say where you're like, all right, that could have been better. But my goal was going up before it was that I just didn't want to change. I didn't want to be someone who's like, well, you know,
right.
I'm not that person. I don't want to be that. So it shouldn't change just because the format is different.
Yeah. I mean, so many people will ask too, like, oh, now that you're in, I mean, I self-produced my special in my hometown in Dayton in December, and I'm just finishing up right now, editing it and blah, blah, blah. But people will say, like, oh, do you change your act when you're home? Or do you change your act in Raleigh if it's super whatever abortion-y? And it's like no. No,
the adverb.
And it's like, no, I don't change anything anywhere.
Did you see Beth's show? Was it super abortion-y? It was abortion-y, wasn't it? Please title that as one. It has to be. You do abortion every few years. That's how I see Beth over the years. I'm like, I think she's doing abortion again. And then a year will go by and she's talking about her family. I'm like, abortion will be back.
It's coming back around. I know it.
It's like taxes. It just
I gotta get it in before I hit menopause. I gotta get all this material in.
Death, taxes, and abortion-y. Yeah. That's so funny to me. So, okay, all right. We didn't even get to this.
There's also so many factors of stand-up in general.
Yeah.
Like, there's just so many things this. You wonder why some of us go insane. I mean, obviously, there's those, pre-existing conditions I mentioned earlier, mental illness, addiction. You wonder why we go insane is because the definition of insanity is doing the same thing to different results, and that happens to us sometimes in the same night.
Yeah.
I've gone up in the main room in the Improv, had a great set, went into the lab, started bombing my dick off. My mom was with me, and I looked at her in the crowd. I go, Mom, was this not just this doing well in the other room? She goes, everybody looks at my mom. She goes, we had fun in there. Or, we had fun over there. You know what I mean? It's like, yeah, you guys should have some fucking fun. Jesus, is that what you came here for? Lighten up.
Oh my God, your mom is so wholesome, dude. Yeah, we had a good time. I want your mom in my shows.
She is so.
How is this?
Wholesome.
What's your mom's name?
Diane.
Oh, that's even better. That's the name I would hope you said. I was like, Diane, what's going on? And she's like,
she would love you.
She's like, they had concessions. Like, that's what the difference is. They had concessions here.
That's true.
Diane. Okay, so real quick, I want to get to this. So, and not that we haven't kind of circumnavigated several times about the theme of what this podcast is about, but I just I want to know, because I'm someone who I've taken risks. We all have. I think for comics especially, it resonates. And sometimes it's like moving out, or sometimes it's making the chance. Like sometimes it's like, you're in Crashing and you're in a format that you don't even know. But I want to know, like, what's a time that stuck out for you where you took a risk and it either backfired or it paid off. And I know we were texting about this, there's got to be so many examples.
I know. And some of them, I'm sure I've just fully shut out because they were very uncomfortable.
Sure.
There's tons of times.
That's why I gave you days.
I know. I thought about it. I even talked about it with my mom. I was like, Mom, what's the
Diane.
I did last night. I was like,
well, you had fun.
She goes, I don't know what the prompt means. She said, what about during a show? I was like, okay, yeah, good idea. I mean, like, stand-up wise, I remember being at the Portland Helium. I mean, this is a tale they still tell about me. Huh?
Cross Street?
15th and...
Portland Helium.
Yeah. I really wish I had it for you.
I actually think you might be close.
I know.
I'm not even fucking with you. I think it's close to 15th. Or if it's on 15th, we're done. If it's on 15th,
the lights shut out.
We're here. Helium Comedy Club, Portland. Here we go. Helium Portland. Show me. Here we go. Helium Comedy Club. It's on 1510 Southeast. The 1510.
Wow.
That's why.
Okay, I
That's
knew there
why.
was a 15.
Wow, look at you.
Ow! Sorry, I just hit my own hand, and we were talking about outside activities.
Yeah.
I play field hockey, and my finger got smashed. We played some. It's like so blue and gross.
Dude, look at that. Look at me. I did this from I don't know, but not what you do. Yeah, not at all what you do at all. I don't do.
Okay. So Portland Helium, and this is truly a tale I was told that they like still talk about. Okay, so it's not. Maybe I don't want to set it up like it's going to be so big. But
I'm so excited. I'm managing it, but I'm excited.
I want to say Thursday or Friday. It was either Thursday or Friday because this was the following night. There was a woman in the front row who was hammered out of her mind and just being difficult and chatty, and those sometimes are tough because they want to be there, they do like you, but they are also ruining the show. So that's tough to handle because if you're too mean, the crowd will turn on you. And if you don't handle it, you'll beat yourself up because it's like they should have just been pulled. They were ruining everybody's time.
Yeah.
I didn't kick her out. It stuck with me. This is years ago when I would just say, like, obviously as years pass as a headliner, you just get better and better. So this is, I don't know, maybe a time where I was like less confident as a headliner.
Sure. And
I didn't kick her out. Then the following night, just early on, it's almost like I'm on edge. And I have a friend there from early days of Chicago visiting. I have a couple friends there to see me.
You have so many friends. It's crazy.
You know, Katie, Anna, Aaron. Okay. And somebody over here is talking. And I'm not even like, this is the beginning of my set. And I'm like, what? I'm basically like, what is it? What are you talking about? And they don't answer. And I was like, oh, now you don't want to talk? And this is me like going hard right away. And one of them was just like, somebody else near them goes, I was like, well, you should leave. Like, I'm like going straight 0 to 60 on this. And someone next to them, I think, was like, they were just ordering drinks. And I was like, which, by the way, I've seen a comic explode in this particular scenario back in the day in Zanies. And I was like, ooh, never do that. Because they were just ordering drinks. It happens.
Yeah.
And I'm doing it. And then, so it's very uncomfortable. And I'm struggling because I'm uncomfortable. And if I'm bombing, you will know because I'm sweating.
Oh.
I sweat.
Interesting.
And I'm like very uncomfortable. I'm less like I'm definitely type A in the sense that I've planned something. So I'm not just like memorized in my hour. I'm like, what do I want to talk about? And here's my set list.
Yeah.
So I'm like, and in that moment, you want to stand your ground and not look down and be like, what did I have planned here? You're like just standing in your anger and real sure of what you're doing because you're in control. And somebody in the back over here yells, George Carlin would have just rolled with it. And I go, George Carlin's dead. When I say I never got them back, I mean, I never got them back. I bombed a headlining set at Portland Helium, which is a good club.
Yeah.
And Nick, the manager, I remember, has since brought it up. He's a manager out here now. But when I would still go back in the days of him being there back in the day, he was like, ooh, we still talk about that. You're just ordering drinks, Beth.
Yeah.
I kicked him out. I hate you. I was like, oh.
Nick is so funny, bro.
Yeah.
And that is epic. And there's nothing like a bomb that is 55 minutes long.
Oh, my friends could barely look at me after the show. Oh. They were in the green room, and I'm not. They are the type of friends who weren't like, no, it's okay. They were like, yeah, it was really uncomfortable. They were just like keeping it real. They were like, oof, that was rough. Are you okay?
Oh my God! I have family members who, which by the way, Indiana. Hang on. Do you think Indiana crowds are better or Ohio crowds are better?
Oh, Indiana's better, I think.
I would say Ohio.
Okay, well, that's probably because we're just dealing with our own.
I guess so. Maybe that's why. Maybe because I'm performing for your family.
Yeah, Indianapolis, I did the Helium there on leading up to Girl Daddy, and there was some roughness for sure. Somebody got kicked out. My cousin almost fought him. It was like, it was just an old guy clearly on a business trip, and his business friends weren't even defending him. They're like, this guy fucking sucks. Wow.
You have blood relatives just everywhere, just scattered, just
all over the
Stellings, Sprouts.
That was a Lyle, my cousin Craig.
Oh, gotcha.
Lyle.
Okay, yeah, of course, yeah.
Silly.
It's embarrassing to me. Yeah, that is okay. So, that was a time where like I have friends who, like I was gonna say, I have family who no matter when I get off stage, they'll always say, "Oh yeah, you'll get them next time." And it's fun. They'll do it as a funny thing, and sometimes they'll do it as a, they have done it for so long that they saw me at the Bombs when I went up, whatever, and the family came to see me, and they're like, "That's all right, you'll get them next time." And then it just kind of carried it. And it changes. Sometimes the set will be not looking like, "You'll get them next time," and then sometimes set's great and or whatever, and they're like, "You get them next time." So. But that's hilarious that happened, and it's even better that friends were there. And are you still friends? You're still friends with these people?
Yeah, I have been back to Portland a couple times. They did not come to a show since then, I don't think.
Oh no!
But sometimes it's hard to remember who's all there, and I don't know.
Oh no! Oh wow! So
yeah.
You just went in, man. I love that though. That's our first one where you had something where it backfired. Usually it's something like, oh yeah, I took a risk and it paid off in a big way because I went and did this thing or whatever. But the fact that yours backfired and you owned it, it's just so good, Beth. Yeah,
I live with that, Mom. Especially Nick years later, being like, we still
talk about
it. I was like, oh my god.
Like you have to know. You have to know. He's told this story to other people.
I'm trying to think of it to me these double down moments are always negative. I'm trying to think about a positive time it worked, but
well, I mean, it's almost hokey or kitsch to talk about us in a way that or yourself in a way that's like, yeah, I did this, and I mean, and
like you bet on yourself, and
exactly, and in a way, it's hard because I think it's something that we're doing all the time. When you're going on stage and you're trying to write or you're trying to do something, like you are betting on yourself. But for certain things, like at least in my case, the rosebud of mine was obviously was just me fucking being like, all right, I love performing. I have this issue, and I don't know what else to do other than to just have my back in the corner and try to work my way out of it. So having that be a part of the pod, I think, is important because I want to hear about comics who, they have had those times where, sometimes it's in the form of a project where it's like, I put like $30,000 in this thing. It's everything I own. It did not work out, but it led me to whatever. I met this person and then that person did, and I love the idea that if someone were to come to either you or to me right now and say, if they were to come to me and say, Drew, in 10 years, you're going to have this, you're going to do this, and you'll have achieved this. So you're fine. Then all of a sudden, the way I live the next 10 years is different.
Yeah.
And we don't have that. And it's like the struggle is truly you are either right or you're crazy.
Yeah.
And that's it. Those are the only two. You're either right about you choosing this and having this life and committing to succeeding in it, or you're crazy. And that is the only two way either your family or peers or anybody else will ever see you. And
it's a huge risk. Yeah. I mean, like, I know it will always change, right? As we age, time and everything has changed. Our industry changes with social media, blah, blah, blah. But ultimately, and I guess particularly when I started, it's like, if I did the math, I never would have started. But there is a naivete and youth and drive that is saying like, no, maybe I should talk into a mic.
Yeah.
And I've struggled with that over the years of like, what do I have to say? And shouldn't I just shut up?
Yeah.
I've definitely had that, especially during the pandemic and I know a lot of those moments.
Was that a difficult time or was that a good time?
I was hoping we'd all take one long nap and then everybody bought green screens and I was like, shut the fuck up. God, can we just rest? Get on your cot. Shut up. Close your eyes. We're all stopping. Didn't you see the clock? Sit down. So yeah, I wanted to take a break. Like I kind of said, when it comes to that drive with stand-up, I really do love it, but I'm the comic. I say there's two categories of comics. You walk into a showroom, there's two audience members, and there's the comic that goes, all right, we'll call it. And then there's a comic that's like, let's put on a show for these two. And, you know, I'm the like, I'll see you next week.
Yeah.
And it's not because I don't care about those people.
Yeah.
I do, but I'm just, yeah.
Are you extroverted or are you introverted?
I think I've grown more introverted over the years.
You've gone introverted over the years.
Because I remember, you know, when you had to do your, what is it? Anagram? No, like BETH and then say your word.
Yeah,
it was like bold, extroverted, tenacious, hot little baby. No, I'm just kidding.
Wow.
I don't remember.
I never got that one.
I don't remember the last one. But extroverted, I was just describe myself that way because I was. And I don't know. I think over the years doing stand-up and having it be my job, afterwards if we were like, let's hang out, it's like, we just did. I just talked for like an hour. You know, so I think I've grown more reserved or introverted over the years by making it my job.
Yeah. I
don't know.
I feel I don't know. I feel like I'm an introvert that can be in controlled extroverted environments. Just like this one. That's why, you know, the podcast is such a fun, or not fun, but it's the idea that I can be doing two things at the same time, where it's like I can be working, which like fills my love cup while also socializing.
Yeah.
You know. Okay, so one last time. So this Beth Stelling, she's on Netflix. She's on Netflix, HBO, Comedy Central. Literally, she's done a million things. I'm so happy that you came to do the podcast. And once again, before she goes to Dubai, she is at the Punchline in Sacramento because she's too big for theaters.
Exactly. I like to connect. It's for you.
Go and make eye contact with her.
They show up. There's like 7 other people in the crowd. Like, what was she talking about?
Yeah. Go make eye contact with Beth. Do not order drinks. And we will see you guys next time.